So the full Miami Heat schedule was finally released today, meaning that I can finally make my plans for the next 6 months. I have my girl telling me, hey, let's buy tickets to Halloween Horror Nights. I want to go around the end of October. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's go, but I'll let you know when, because of course I know that that's around the time the Heat season was going to start, and I don't want to miss the games, especially at the beginning of the season when we're excited that basketball's back, and it'll be really fun to make content again and get post-game videos. Now, is it kind of stupid of me to plan my life around the Miami Heat? Yeah, because they're probably not going to be a very exciting team once again. But what can I say? I'm a diehard Miami Heat fan. I'm going to watch every single game, whether it's LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, or Luke Babbitt and Willie Reed. Y'all know I will be tuned in. So it does suck, having to miss some things or plan my schedule around this utterly mediocre team. But I will say, having those conversations with my girlfriend has been a lot easier now that I am making a little bit of money off of this YouTube thing. Of course, it's a pretty decent side job for now. Of course, the goal is to go full-time one day, and I can't do that without y'all support. So make sure to like the video and subscribe, because all of your continued support is greatly appreciated. That being said, before we actually get into the little bit of the schedule talk, I want to remind y'all to fill out my Family Feud form for a Miami Heat's X Family Feud type video I have planned in the next couple of weeks, because, although the schedule came out today and we're all excited because basketball is back, we're still a little over a month away from training camp even started, so we still have tons of time with content to fill, with not a lot else going on. The Heat signed someone today to like an Exhibit 10 contract, so I'll probably make a video on them in like a day or two saying this person is the next hidden gem for the Miami Heat. I don't even know the name of the guy they just signed. But anyways, we're still in the dog days of summer, so I think this Family Feud style video will be pretty fun. So if y'all have not filled out the form yet, make sure to fill it out. It's down in the description below. It's basically 9 questions asking you your favorite Heat player, or which player you hate the most, and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm going to get some of your favorite content creators on to do a Family Feud style battle. I think it'll be a really fun video. Anyways, the Heat did officially announce their schedule on their Twitter with a fun little video. It's become a thing in the NFL where all these teams drop creative or funny videos where they kind of announce the schedule. Who was it last year? It was like the Colts or Titans or someone that got in trouble because they showed like a animation of Tyreek Hill getting arrested or something. I thought it was funny. Tyreek Hill thought it was funny, but point is, a lot of these teams, they either try to be controversial or funny with their schedule releases, and that is kind of something that I look forward to. The Miami Heats, their video was fine. It was basically started off with Davion Mitchell, and they were talking about how he basically brings a basketball with him everywhere he goes. We've seen him rocking his Heat culture jersey out in public and stuff, and it was dope to see them start their video with Davion Mitchell. I love the fact that they're actually going to market him a lot, because y'all know for a while now, I've been saying the Heat need to stop monetizing Heat culture and turn it from a dumb marketing scheme into an actual on-court culture. And the way they can make it a real culture again is with guys like Davion Mitchell. So if you're going to keep it as this dumb marketing scheme you've been doing, at least make Davion Mitchell the face of it, a guy who is actually Heat culture. So that was pretty funny. And then basically the video goes on showing a bunch of other people holding a basketball while doing various tasks, like a guy getting a tattoo while holding a basketball, a kid at the doctor's office holding a basketball. And then, of course, they had a lot of cameos from Heat players, like Tyler Hero was getting measured for fashion shoots, because we know he's been out all summer with the bleached eyebrows and doing all his fashion stuff. But he was holding a ball. You had Norman Powell at the barber holding a ball. So it was nice to see him in some Heat montages. You also saw Andrew Wiggins meditating with the basketball. It was cool to kind of see Wiggins get involved with some more stuff after a rough transition period for him last year. I'm willing to give him the benefits of the doubt coming into this season now that he's more settled in. He has everything situated with his family and stuff. So I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt that we'll get a better year from him. Cool to see him in the video. There was a clip of Bam Adebayo like coaching, holding a basketball, which that's not very creative. We couldn't get Bam I don't know, scuba diving or doing something cool. He's like coaching. I know Bam did do some coaching in this offseason with some various camps and stuff, but there was that. And then there was also Khalil Ware at like an arcade holding like a plush basketball. Is that the Heat social media team taking shots saying that Khalil Ware is a kid and he goes to arcades? I don't know. I think that was just a coincidence. But anyways, the video was cool. I want to kind of get into a little bit of quirks of the schedule. We'll break it down a bit. Y'all may know that every year I like to do a win-loss video where I predict every single game. We'll save that for another video. But a lot of the quirks, I want to shout out Anthony Chang because immediately following the schedule release, he put out an article highlighting a lot of this stuff. So we'll go through some of that and share my thoughts as well. But of course, it was announced that he'd have 40 home games, 40 away. The 2 games that are not determined yet is because of that stupid NBA in-season tournaments. I know I'm in the minority on that. Most people love that dumb tournament. I don't like it. The Heat clearly don't care about it, so why should I? But that being said, just keep in mind, only 80 games were officially scheduled so far. And of course, they open up against who else but the Orlando Magic. It feels like we start the season with them every single year. Last year we did. I think they kicked our ass on opening nights in Miami. And this is actually the 6th time in 10 seasons that we are playing the Magic. So it is basically almost over 50% of the time we start against the Magic. And actually, of the 6 times, that we opened up against them, 5 of them were on the road. So it's usually on the road at Orlando like it is for this season, which is going to be a tough start. Obviously, I just said Orlando kicked their ass in game 1 last year. They're going to be even a better team this year because they're healthy right now. First of all, of course, they got the addition of Desmond Bane. I know they are the heavy betting favorite specifically to win the Southeast Division. FanDuel does have them at an overwhelming favorite at -185. And then they actually have the Hawks at +210 and the Heat at +1,000. So not only does FanDuel think the Heat are going to finish 3rd in the Southeast Division, but they don't even think it's going to be particularly close. That I'm not so sure about. I made a couple videos in the past. I think FanDuel doesn't believe in the Heat a lot, but hey, y'all can take advantage of that by logging into FanDuel and maybe throwing a little bit of bread on Miami. But yeah, Orlando is definitely not going to be an easy matchup to start the season. Anthony Chang also put an interesting note that the last time the Heat opened the season up on the road that wasn't in Orlando was all the way back in 2011. And that was the Christmas Day game versus the Mavericks, a game that I'll remember forever. If y'all remember, that's when there was the lockout after the Heat the year 2011. So yeah, that's the year after the Heat lost to the Mavs, I believe, in the championship. And then we played them on opening night and Christmas Day. Kicked their ass. There was that great pass where LeBron tipped it on the lob to D Wade, who dunked it. That was a really fun game. And of course, after the lockout, I was excited that Heat basketball was back. But yeah, that was a fun one. That was the last time the Heat were on a road to start a season, not in Orlando. So quite a long time. Now I want to get into some of the national TV coverage, which isn't a lot. The Heat only have 5 national TV games. That could change. Things can get flexed in or out depending on how well a team is playing later in the season or if there's injuries. I don't get too crazy about the national TV stuff. A lot of people get mad because the Heat are getting disrespected. And it's like, I don't care. The Heat are not an exciting team to watch. I'll be the first one to tell you. At least they weren't last year. Maybe they will be this year. That remains to be seen. But I don't care about that stuff because most of the time, the national TV games are simulcast on local TV anyways. So why would I tune into these national TV bums when I could watch my boys John Crotty and Eric Reed? Those are the GOATs, man. So I don't watch much of the national TV anyways. But either way, of those 5 games, 2 are on Amazon Prime. 1 versus the Knicks in November, and then they play against the Rockets in February. The Prime games will be kind of cool to see because, of course, you got Udonis Haslem and Dwayne Wade on the coverage in some regard. I think I actually read that Wade might do some in-studio work and also some play-by-play work next to Kevin Harlan, the commentator GOAT. So that'll definitely be a lot of fun in my opinion. And then the Heat do have 1 ESPN game, Heat versus Jimmy Butler when the Warriors come to town on November 19th. And then they have 1 NBC game, which will be fun to see too, just because, NBC hasn't covered basketball in quite a long time. And that'll be the January game versus the Timberwolves. And then they do have 1 Peacock game. It is in March versus the 76ers. And then I'm sure there'll be other NBA TV games announced later, which are fake national TV games. Sometimes they say, the Heat have 10 national TV games. And 8 of them are NBA TV. No, those don't count. So they have 5 real ones. They're the ones I just read. And for comparison, only 7 teams have fewer national TV games. And they're all teams that suck. It's Brooklyn, Charlotte, Chicago, New Orleans, Toronto, Washington, Utah. The Heat may not be exciting, but they're definitely several tiers above those stinky teams. So there is a little bit of disrespect in that regard. For comparison, the Thunder, Lakers, Warriors, Knicks, they all have 34 national TV games. So about 7 times more than the Miami Heat, which I get. You know, people want to watch Curry and LeBron, and you'll always get coverage for the Knicks. And I'm kind of happy to see the Thunder are getting respected as the champs, because for a long time, they didn't get really a lot of respect either, just because they're a small market team. But they've always been good, and they have been a fun watch, in my opinion. I'm kind of glad they're getting recognized as such now. The good news is, though, is that of the 80 games that were scheduled, 76 are covered locally on FanDuel Sports Network Sun. So, you know, although 5 of them are national television games, I guess 4 of them you can't watch locally, but 1 of them you will be able to. So if you don't have any of these other streaming services like Prime or Peacock, or don't get ESPN, you will at least be able to watch all but 4 of the games as long as you have FanDuel. That'll be the Knicks game on Amazon Prime, the Timberwolves on NBC, the Rockets on Prime, and the 76ers on Peacock. Those are the 4 games you won't be able to watch. Me specifically, I have all of those except Peacock. So we'll see what happens when the time comes for that 76ers game on Peacock. If I got to find a wink link, I'll find a wink link, if you know what I mean. But we'll see what happens when that time comes. As far as some other quirks, 6 of the first 8 games are on the road, including a West Coast road trip the second week in. That'll be the Spurs, Lakers, Clippers, and Denver last. So already a bit of a gauntlet. Maybe the Heat could be road warriors this year. They've sucked at home in years past. They were okay on the road. So maybe the Heat get off to a better start. Although I hate playing Denver on the last game of a West Coast road trip. Just an impossible game to win. But chalk that one up as a loss. Spoiler alert for that's a win, that's a loss. But 11 of the Heat's first team opponents were playoff teams from last year. We know last season the Heat basically lost to every team that had an above 500 record. So we're going to get tested right away. And then our last game of the season is versus the Atlanta Hawks on April 12th, which is an interesting one because the Heat and Hawks obviously playing rivals. They could be fighting for position come late in the season. So that game could actually have a ton of stakes. But as far as the last several games of the season, it could be a little bit of a nice fluff period for Miami. They play Cleveland twice to end March, basically. But then they got Indiana, Philly, Boston, Washington, Toronto, Washington, Atlanta. That's 8 winnable games in my opinion. Obviously, Boston and Indiana, we'll see how good they are with their injuries. Philadelphia, I don't expect to be well. So, and outside of those teams, you know, you don't expect Washington or Toronto to be great. And I guess we did say Atlanta will be tough. So 7 of the last 8 games, I think the Heat play a team that is not as good as them. I do. I think the Heat will be better than Boston, Indiana, and Philly. I do. So that could be nice that they end the schedule on a little bit of fluff period if they need to win a few games to kind of jump up a seed or 2 going into the postseason. Some other interesting games early on in November 19th, Jimmy Butler comes back to Miami. I was at his first return last year. Lit-ass game as the Heat bust that Warriors ass. Jimmy Butler looked terrible. That was a super fun one. Probably won't go to the one this year, but I'll see. I don't know. I still like Jimmy Butler. It'll be cool to see him. And then 10 days later, on November 29th, Duncan Robinson returns to town as the Pistons come to Miami. So that one will be pretty fun too. I know I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of return games. I was at D Wade's first game back here, LeBron's first game back here in 2014. I was at Hassan Whiteside's return game, obviously Jimmy's return game. So it'll be cool to see Duncan's return. You know, definitely a Heat legend in my eyes, but we'll see. We'll see if my schedule allows it. The Heat do have 15 back-to-backs this year. That's the same amount as last year, but 3 of them are with no travel because they play the Clippers and Lakers in LA on a back-to-back, and then they have 2 home back-to-backs. So 15 total back-to-backs, but really only 12 where you got to travel. As far as the holidays, they do play the Pistons on New Year's Day. I think that'll be kind of fun. If you have off, get the family together, watch Heat versus Pistons. That'll be a fun one. Then they do play at the Warriors on Martin Luther King Day on January 19th. Surprisingly, I saw the Grizzlies don't play on MLK Day. That's like the first time in forever. But the Heat were fortunate enough to get scheduled. And then the Heat do play on Super Bowl Sunday, February 8th, where they will travel to face the Washington Wizards. I always like playing on Super Bowl Sunday. You get like a full day of sports. You get some Heat game early on, and then you got the Super Bowl at night. So I am kind of looking forward to that. I remember years ago, the Heat were in Toronto, I think on Super Bowl Sunday. Then the whole team got together at like a bar and watched the game. So it was a good bonding experience for the team too. There is 3 conflicts with the Dolphins on October 26th. You got Heat Knicks, Dolphins, Falcons. And then on October 30th, you got Heat Spurs. And then Dolphins Ravens on Thursday Night Football, which, why do the Dolphins always play the Ravens on Thursday night? Usually we get our ass kicked too, except that one year where like Flores didn't start Tua because he had like a broken finger. And then Tua came in halfway through because whoever the starter was at that time got hurt. And then Tua led the Dolphins to a comeback. Y'all remember that? I remember that game. I remember the game where Kiko Alonso got like thrown out for a late dirty hit on Joe Flacco. So the Dolphins always play Baltimore on Thursday night. It's going to be a tough one. And then on December 21st, you got Heat Knicks again. And then Dolphins Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football. Again, I feel like the Heat play the Bengals on Sunday night a lot too. I'm still traumatized from when Tua got that concussion on that one late night game versus the Bengals. So hopefully the Dolphins have some luck on prime time, which I'm not hopeful about. It kind of sucks that, it's like I like the games, like the first one where the Dolphins play at 1, Heat play at night, got another full day of sports. But the Thursday night one with the Ravens and then Heat Spurs, I'll have to try to watch both. We'll see what will happen. But the good news about the Sunday night one with the Bengals that we just discussed is the Heat actually play at 6 o'clock, and then usually Sunday Night Football don't kick off till about 8:20. So should be able to watch both games there. Other conflicts include 2 with the Hurricanes. There's the Heat do play on the College Football National Championship. The Heat will play the Warriors that night. So I'll watch the Heat game unless by some miracle the Miami is in the College Football Championship, which is in Miami, actually. So that'll be pretty cool. But I don't necessarily trust Carson Beck, and I definitely don't trust Mario Cristobal. So we'll see what happens. And then the Heat do play on the same night as the Panthers 32 times, which has been a big topic of discussion the last several years. It seems like they always play the same night. But I did want to mention that because this year I'm really going to make an effort to watch as many Panthers games as possible because I'm locked in now. I've been tuned in, for the postseason, 2 years ago, watched a lot more last year, now that when they were a one-time champion. Then I watched every playoff game, went to the Stanley Cup final game. They won the championship again. So now I'm locked in. It's hard not to be in love with a team. You won 2 straight Stanley Cup championships. So I'm locked in. Try to watch as many Panther games as possible. So that's it as far as the schedule. Training camp starts in September 30th, about a month and a half away. And then preseason starts October 4th versus the Magic in Puerto Rico. So that's going to be a very fun one as well. I did notice, too, the Heat's on FanDuel. We've talked about it before. They have us projected to win 39.5 games. So it actually went up because I did throw a little bit of money on it. But that's when FanDuel had us back at 37.5 wins. And I told y'all that was a bit low, in my opinion. Seems like a lot of y'all might have listened and took the Heat over 37.5. Now it's at 39.5. And I still like that number. Just not as much, but shout out to FanDuel for putting a little bit more respect on the Miami Heat. But like I said, we'll do a win-loss video in the coming week or so. Make sure y'all do the Family Feud form as we discussed earlier. Link is in the description. And most importantly, like the video and subscribe because your support is greatly appreciated. That being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in the city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.